Testing sound for YouTube. Testing sound for YouTube. Testing sound for Zoom.
Test, 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 test.
Test. Test, test.
Okay, I wish to call to order this Harbour Authority meeting on Monday, the May 2nd at 4 p.m. The Harbour Authority Committee would like to acknowledge you, clue a thought on whose traditional territories the District of Euclid operates. Notice a video recording. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Looking for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of the minutes for March 1st, 2022 regular Harbour Authority minutes.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any errors or omissions? Hearing, seeing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on forward to public input. Are there any questions from the general public? I'm catching up here in my binder. Public input. This is an opportunity for the members of the public to provide input. Speakers have 2 minutes to present unless the Harbour Authority votes unanimously to extend the speaker's time. Please note that this is not a question and answer period, and Harbour Authority is under no obligation to enter into a debate of any issue. That said, we are more than happy to receive your comments. We ask that all speakers state their name, address, and the topic. If you're attending via Zoom, please raise your hand icon to speak, and if you're attending by telephone, *9.
We have no hands raised on Zoom and no callers.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak that are in the room? You're getting to you later. You're getting there. We're just having fun because nobody's here. It's very rewarding to do this job when no one shows up. So. Anyway, and community input. Any emails?
There are no emails.
Okay, moving on. Delegations. We have one delegation this afternoon. Please keep your presentation to 10 minutes. This time limit may be extended by the Harbour Authority's resolution. Members of the Harbour Authority may ask questions at the end of each presentation, although they will not be making any decisions at this time. So welcome, Louis. Just go up to the microphone there and do your thing.
Yeah, hi, my name is Louis Rouleau. I have West Coast Wild Adventures. My home is 944 Peninsula. And I'd like to welcome and thank you all. I'd like to thank Kevin for getting it to you guys as quick as he did. It was kind of a surprise that I brought it to him last week, and all of a sudden Monday, here we are. So, and thank you for taking your time out on a sunny day to hear me. What it is I would like to put a fuel place down by the airplane. The place at the harbor is working out very well for the airplane, but it can get a little congested down there going back and forth through the narrow part. So that's one of the reasons I'd like to put the fuel there, is so that I can, instead of having to get the airplane through there, I would be less, have less trips through there if I had a little barge. And so I'm looking at putting a couple of fuel tanks on a converted herring skiff, and I would fill that up at the marina and then keep it there. And then it would help me out immensely, because what happens is, to cut down on the trips, I usually put full tanks on a lot of times, and that cuts down on my payload. So my new airplane now, I have 6 seats in it. If I have a certain payload, I can have 650 pounds of payload, and if there's kids in that, I can put kids in the back and stuff, unless I have full tanks. And so with the trips that I do now for the government, I need full tanks, right? So if I had the fuel, it would make it much more efficient. It would keep the airplane out of the boat lanes, and I'm just hoping that it works. I actually met with Rick, the fire chief. I have a letter that he had given me for his support, and I also consulted with Abby's husband, Mark Fortune. He used to be part of Harbour Air at one point in time, and he had told me that Harbour Air used this system for some of the places that they operated out of. Tofino Air, they have a tank right over the water, and Atleo Air, they have this system with a herring skiff that has the tank, which is the system that I'm going to put together. So that's pretty much it. I'm open to questions. I've checked over all of the things. The tanks everything has to be certified, Transport Canada certified. I would provide insurance and signage and that sort of thing. I just really want to make this work, because it would be very helpful to my business. So I'm open to questions. And
Sorry, I actually did it.
Holy moly, you have a good day.
Yikes.
Actually did it.
Louis, thank you for the pictures and everything. I don't like the one where there's fuel tanks on stilts and anyways.
that was a long time ago when Tofino Air
Good.
first started, but they still use it. Like, it's still, it's still there and
Yikes.
it's still operable.
So I only have one question, is that obviously the herring skiff with fuel on it will take up more places at the dock and moorage and space to be able to do it, because it has to be there all the time, is my guess, right?
Yes. Yeah, and the place that I have is right in behind the airplane, which isn't actually a boat place. It's at the fish cleaning dock, and so it takes up no space. That it's not a moorage, a regular moorage space.
And I like it in that it is mobile, obviously, because if you had to move it for some reason.
Yeah, I have to move it to fuel up, to take it to the marina to fuel up, so it would have a motor on it. And
Good.
Councillor McGinn?
Just one question through the mayor to staff. Would this cause extra liability for the harbour? Would we need to sort of bump up our liability insurance?
I would have the liability insurance for it, so I haven't checked into that yet until I know that that this is a go, but it's following all the rules and everything, and it's basically putting in the fuel tanks that you see around town in the back of pickups, right? So it's a tidy tank sort of thing, and so they are certified for marine fuel. So yeah, it's there are some, but I don't know that, to tell you the truth.
Thank you.
Hey, Louis. Would this be available for other planes too, or this is just for you?
Well, the nice thing is I'm just the one-person business. No, I wouldn't be selling it to anybody. I wouldn't have my dock available for other airplanes. I'm happy to be the only airplane in Ucluelet.
Any questions?
No questions. I think it's a good idea to, minimize your airplane traffic through the boat lanes in the summer. It's so busy.
And
So-
getting into that fuel dock in the summertime is just a nightmare.
Brutal.
Bad enough in
Yeah.
a boat?
It
Yeah.
really is a nightmare. So, this makes it a lot safer for everyone, being able to get, and I can go around the back and not worry about pilings and, running into boats that are already parked there. And Yeah, so.
Did you want to make any comments? Or is it Kevin?
You guys are not making decisions today, right? This is something that other parts of management aspect that I discussed.
Okay.
Because I've opened up to other operators doing similar. It's a concern, but it's something that an issue that can be worked on, but I definitely have some management issues.
Okay.
Should we talk about them so they know?
Okay, so.
No, just 1 second.
We'll let
What I would recommend, if this is something that council wants us to pursue, is that staff would bring a follow-up report to the Harbour Authority so that they can, so we have time to document any issues, any concerns, and items for consideration for the Harbour Authority to consider. So it would just be a report that would come back to the Harbour Authority, and at that time, then you could discuss all the different issues related to fueling in the small craft harbor area.
Okay.
So through the mayor, my only thing, when do we meet again? Because it's May already.
Next one is September, although if it's warranted and the Harbour Authority wants to address this issue earlier, we can always hold another one.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have 4.5 hours left, right?
You do so.
There we go. Actually, I could do that too.
Yeah, obviously this is a time sensitive. We would love to see this application in February, not in May. But if someone would like, what are you going to say?
I'm sorry, Lara, are we thinking the same thing?
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. Be nice to bring it forward earlier.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, or
We'll ask for a staff report in order, and then we have to do another Harbour Authority meeting in the next 30 days. We'll do one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
That's what we're saying. So who would like to move that?
I'll make a motion that we ask staff to come back with a report for West Coast Adventures and a fuel boat at an expedited extra early Harbour Authority meeting in the next 30 days.
I'll second that.
Yeah, we're really good.
There we go.
It's sunny out.
What did you say we had to work on?
Can we
Yeah,
take a rainy day?
Yeah.
I knew what you're.
Council, can't we do it on the same day as the council meeting?
Probably. I think Mr. Lawrence will figure something out.
Yeah, I think we have enough within that resolution that we'll fine tune for council.
We should
That
actually propped all your resolutions
we will-
together, so we get like a little.
we will need to post a special notice for an additional
Okay.
Harbour Authority meeting, and we'll probably attach it to an existing council meeting. Yeah.
Perfect.
Someone needs to second it, that crappy.
I seconded it. I did.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Obviously, Louis, you probably just came up with this. This board meets 4 times a year, and any time that you're more than welcome to bring ideas forward like this. Obviously, it's you don't want to see this in September, October, right?
Yeah, sooner the better. Yeah. I don't have a herring skiff, but I'm shopping now, so. Yeah. And they have the tanks. I just got an email this morning. They have the tanks at the co-op in Port Alberni, so they're ready to go anytime.
Yeah, no, that's the easy part. Is just getting permission, right? Yeah, for sure.
And what the signage would look like and stuff. Yeah, that kind of
Thanks, Louis.
Okay, that's it. Is this the part where I buy you all a beer?
No, I can't do that. No, we go to jail for that stuff now. You want to follow up on there?
So I'm not sure because the harbor master has expressed, I mean, I hear in the gallery, if you will, just some back and forth about what the concerns are. Or do we want to talk about anything now, or we're just going to wait and let it go? Yeah.
We'll wait for the staff report.
Okay.
Pros and cons, and go from there. That's all we can do.
Okay, sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Moving on to unfinished business. Is there any? No. Okay. Reports, Harbor Master Contract Authorization. Welcome, Ms. Fortune.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. There we go. Yeah. Okay, great. Good afternoon, Harbour Authority. In front of you, you have a recommendation to move forward to the District of Ucluelet Council to award a 5-year contract for Caslin Contracting at the amount of 42% of gross revenue collected under the District of Ucluelet Harbour Regulation bylaw. Caslin Contracting was the sole bidder submitted for a full proposal, identifying and addressing the scope of work as laid out in Schedule A to C of the RFP, which you were consulted on in March. Caslin proposal meets both the requirements of the RFP and brings value-added service to the Harbour Master contract. Staff had undertaken a review of proposed compensation requests. Staff has compared like-sized harbour operations in other communities, like Comox, for example, and concur that the request of the 42% of a gross sales tax of GST is the appropriate compensation of oversight of the Ucluelet small craft harbors. And in fact, Caslin has proposed a decrease from previous years. As you know, the pros of Caslin are strong knowledge of the requirements or needs of the position, pre-existing knowledge of the area, smooth transition into new contract cycle, and the requirement of the RFP will be met if the services are continued using Caslin. Any questions?
Councillor McEwen.
Thank you. Yeah, just that sentence that you read, that Caslin Contracting has recognized and considered that due to the increasing volume of traffic and recent increase to moorage fees, a decrease of 7.7 over the previous contract's fee is appropriate. So are we reducing that 42% by 7%?
No, it was the previous contract was higher. This is the proposed rate is the 42%.
Oh, okay. That's what I needed clarification on.
Sorry,
Thank
my
you.
apologies.
I got one while you're thinking. So I just want to make clarity. So I understand the mortgage fee. So is there going to be a commission on hydro and everything else, or is it straight
Yes.
across?
It is hydro. Hold on, give me 10 seconds.
Okay.
It's in there. So it is hydro, water and sewer are part of the mortgage fees, and wharfage. Kevin, am I missing anything? Oh, thank you. That's
All gross revenue.
that's a good way of putting it. Thank you.
Okay. And that's what it's been status quo, right?
That is correct.
Through the mayor to staff. Under the expectations, the staffing will be a minimum of 70 hours per week for the harbor master. So how does that work? It's just my query.
So what I will do is the Harbour Authority will establish hours with the contractor, and so what we can do is we can set a minimum rate. It's not necessarily the maximum rate. Previously, the Caslin Contracting has done approximately 120 hours a week. So this is just a baseline to ensure that we do have coverage and that there is an appropriate time that the contractor is available, and that will be posted. The Caslin Contracting is also proposing with COVID gone now, well, sort of, kind of, that the contractor will have 2 additional staff people, if available, for the summer time of sort of the realm of 4 to 5 months, which hasn't happened previously, primarily because of COVID and CERB.
Right. So minimum of 70 hours a week. Does that mean like we expect one person to work 70 hours a week?
Yes. No?
I was like,
I think I can answer the question. I know where you're going with
Yeah.
that. It is the
Oh.
harbor master contract will require a minimum of 70 hours per week. It does not mean that the harbor master will be there for 70 hours. It's that that
Someone will
the
be.
contractor or his employees will be on site.
like
Yeah.
coverage. Because I was
Otherwise,
like, how can we
those are
expect
really
that?
long weeks.
When you said 120 hours, I'm like, how can we expect that?
How long you been doing the contract now?
2013, so starting with
I would like to note, if I may, that we are looking at a 5-year contract.
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, I see
Perfect.
that,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Oh, through the mayor to staff, is there a job description that entails everything that the harbor master does?
There is a list of duties, as I brought forward to you, to the
Right.
Harbour Authority on March 4th, and it is something that the contractor and myself, if successful, will go through to establish more of some guidelines in terms of expectations. And the contractor is very willing to do that and has already started putting some stuff together along that line.
Well, I'm very satisfied, and I'll just say thank you to the contractor for what you've done the last 10 years, and we look forward to your next 5. And I do appreciate the fact that your revenues have gone up and you've done some adjustments based on your percentages, and for me that goes a long way. So thanks for doing that, Kevin. So, if you don't mind.
I will move recommendation A, that the Harbour Authority approve option A to recommend to the District of Ucluelet Council to award a 5-year contract between Caslin Contracting and the District of Ucluelet for harbour master services in the amount of 42% of gross revenues collected under the District of Ucluelet Harbour Regulation Amendment Bylaw 1296/2021 plus GST.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
Only because we're doing a 5-year contract. Are we in any realm responsible to put out an RFP or whatever to give other people an opportunity to apply to be a contractor for this job?
So through the Harbour Authority, Chair, we have done that. So we sent that out on March
I missed that.
21st, and our closing date was April 4th. So we did do an RFP on that.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry,
welcome.
I missed.
That's
the-
okay.
It's all good. It's all good. You're a little busy, you know. It's all good. Can't read your agenda when you're running around town with your siren. Okay. So anyways, so all in favor?
Did someone second it?
Yeah, it was second.
I did. Oh.
Called it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So wonderful. And thanks, Kevin. I'll try to get paid up. I know I'm a little behind on my dues there, but see you soon.
Pull his boat.
Impound. We have no place in town.
Yeah, it's all good. Notice of motion. I'm not aware of any. No, okay. No correspondence. You know, I always dream of the fact that the user groups down there would actually send us some correspondence, but we don't. I guess most of the correspondence I get is when I'm on the dock, but or Kevin, yeah.
Or we put surveys out occasionally and people come back, but yeah. No news is good news.
A little bit, you know. It's just by coincidence that Louis had asked you that, and there happened to be this meeting, right? Otherwise, he'd probably been SOL, right?
Yeah, the whole idea is, people, I don't know as much as people understand the Harbour Authority yet.
Sorry, I'm just thinking if we're gonna.
Oh yeah, Kevin. Jesus, sorry.
We need to like,
Sorry.
otherwise the public cannot hear.
No, good. You're right. I just the correspondence line just got me because we never get any.
I have to repeat everything you said.
Remember what I said. So I think the Harbour Authority getting feedback is probably a little harder. It's most of my user groups do what they want to do and they go home. So I don't get a lot of this. If it's something you guys are looking for to get that, maybe an open house style with inviting more people to come out to a Harbour Authority meeting to see what you guys do and how to make that work, and then have more feedback coming through, either with me or without me being here, depending on how you feel the room is going to go, right?
I know that we've tried different avenues over the years, and it ends up. And one thing that I find interesting that Tofino does, there's not many things I find Tofino does interesting, but this one was, which was the Tofino Harbour Authority themselves had a little community gathering of hot dogs, and something down there just to engage of what they're doing, and I think one of the things as we go forward as trying to get more feedback, because I think most of the feedback I hear down there is just you know, where do we get more dock space, and what's the future growth of that outer harbor going to look like, and stuff like that. So, you know, I sometimes know that this board is the one that's going to end up making those responsibilities, those decisions, because trying to get that user group to come out to speak in, you know, in this forum, it's a bit difficult, and quite frankly, giving them a hot dog to hear their thoughts is a bit, you know, I think you even tried sending out forms, surveys, and we've tried like a lot of crazy little things, right?
Yeah, we did that, and for the harbor master plan, we had, oh, sorry,
Oh, we did?
It was the summer before last, wasn't it?
before the COVID. Yep.
It's going to be a quick meeting, so I thought I'd throw this bonus round conversation
Yeah,
in.
so just through the chair of the Harbour Authority, we have completed our Harbour Master Plan, as you all are well aware of, where we did do a number of public engagement, and I think for the most part quite successfully. So now it becomes our responsibility to carry out some of those activities, events, suggestions. So that's what I see the next 5 years, is building that out and how we can do that. The other, just to jump ahead of myself a little bit, is we will also be looking at doing some surveys this summer, as requested, looking at birthage. No, sorry. Wharfage. Thank you. Wharfage, tomato. No, what's it called when you onboard? Wharfage. Thank you. Sorry. My apologies. Wharfage. We are looking at wharfage. And we'll be looking at that this summer, as well as we're going to connect with the operators this summer, and just to get their input, and that is something that we will be planning on doing this summer. So I think that's going to give us some engagement, but we want to do it while they're there, the fishing charter operators. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Through the chair, I was just going to say that I think it's important, because although we made the plan and it's a 5-year projection, that a lot has changed in the last couple of years in the economy and the visitor traffic and who's who, and how we're all going to manage. So I think it would be important to keep some form of a finger on the pulse. That's all.
Yeah, because some of the changes I see, it's like we have had no Americans up here fishing in this year, you know, and for 2 years.
No, two showed up last night.
Oh, I think, so this is starting to come now.
Starting to
Like
come.
that's a whole audience,
Starting to
and we
come.
are already busy. Now it's like they're going to come in like this is the way it used to be, and it's going to add some congestion. And actually, for some of them, I think maybe their expectations may not be met, because they may actually have to go to the private dock of Island West, because you're probably too full, right?
Yep.
Pretty quickly.
As I explained to when I get phone calls and emails, the difference between us as being public, where I don't turn people out, compared to them being private, where they get their own slips. So then they can make their own choices.
Right.
And if they show up unexpected, then they might have expectational issues. But most people plan ahead nowadays. What I'm working with now is getting information from CBSA. If we can still clear customs at 52 steps, that's a game changer. Instead of going to Victoria, then coming here, previously they were able to clear through 52 steps. So I was told after May 1st I should be able to get an answer, so I'll call my contact there tomorrow and find out what's going on.
Through the mayor to staff, is the Van Al 360 going to be here this summer? Next summer then? Next summer, okay. And sort of an unrelated question, if I may. Do we have our contract renewed with DFO yet? Because we passed some sort of a motion that held us in abeyance to continue harbor activities and until they get that signed.
Through the chair, yes, we are in that state right now. We're still waiting for DFO to come back with that, and I'm honestly not expecting to hear anything until the fall. The other entity around that is Harbour Authority has asked that maybe DFO come to one of the meetings, so I think that might be a good time to bring that forward. But they've certainly been very supportive of the projects we've been doing in the Harbour Master Plan, as well as they've been helping us out recently with a couple of projects. So I think the communication and the relationship is going well, but we still do not have our head lease. No.
So a follow-up to that, are they just too busy, or what's the problem?
I don't know if I can directly answer that. All right, we'll answer that diplomatically. I think they're trying to do a complete overhaul on the head leases. It's not just us. They're trying to do overhaul on all of the head leases and come up with a new template in terms of how moving forward, because DFO, like everyone else, has got changes and they're dealing with different things than what they traditionally used to. So they're trying to address that aspect. Does that answer your question in a politically correct way?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect.
Thinking of politically correct things. I'm guessing it'll be a while before we hear back about our creosote pilings letter.
No, actually, it won't be. Ta-ta-ta-ta. Oh. Kevin's going to grab his paperwork. We
It's
have
an
good
exciting
news
meeting
for
so far.
It's
No, it was an after. Sorry.
So I'm going to let Kevin take the glory on this, and actually thank Paula, who actually put the draft together in the letter for us. So we've got good news.
Yeah, so coming back from DFO, they're willing to not, still going to put wood, but not creosote. They're going with a product, my chemistry's not good, AZZA, which is anomical copper zinc arsenic. So that's the treatment. So
Arsenic.
yep, it has to
It's
be
just not
treated-
black. It's green.
choice. That's what the product is. So, and that's what the contractor that I've been able to get for our piling work to bring. It's not here yet. Probably, hopefully for June, we'll get the pilings down at the Whiskey Dock as well as that one replaced.
You go ahead. You're thinking what I'm thinking.
So no, maybe not. I'm just curious if we know that this is the new go-to, or that it's a tried, tested, and true situation, and where we could compare it to.
It has been around since the 1920s, so it's been used for a long period of time. It has some weaknesses and some strengths to it. Creosote's always been the West Coast standard because I have pilings that are 67 years old. When the sun comes out, they still melt. This stuff here, I've never did enough research on to give you that, but they've been using it lots of other places, a lot of U.S. stuff. So.
Okay.
No, listen. How much research do you think they've done if they were going to put a creosote log and they change it? Okay.
I just would like to know if, the herring will lay their eggs on it. Because that's the issue with creosote, is it kills them. And there's a lot of critters that can't lay on creosote. So in fact, it makes for a healthier environment down there if the pilings are something that the animals can actually use as a habitat. So I'm just curious because I don't know about the stuff either. And I got to say, I've got some really interesting fisheries books from the 1920s on my shelf at home, and I wouldn't want to do some of the stuff in there.
Exactly. The fact that they've continued using it, though, so.
I'm not a set of policy. I'm not going to make a big motion here, but I think it's important that, for us, anytime we have an opportunity to replace something, you're already replacing them with metal traditionally,
More
right?
stuff, yes.
Yeah, and I think, to me, that's like the benchmark of what we are finding. When you say that, for me, it's just it's the appropriate thing to do, regardless, not just change it to another model. So I guess not we want to spend a bunch of money down there, but the reality is, is there that much of a difference between a metal pole and a wooden one?
For them to do it, they would have to remove the dolphins that are there, and they'd have to basically re-drill or re-stamp them down, and that seems to be the pushback from DFO. You have to re-drill. It's a dolphin of 4. They could do, if you've been, of course, to the outer basin, they have the larger pilings. They might be able to put something that in there, but if they get to a point where that's rock, they're drilling.
Right.
Now they just want to go back to the same hole.
Oh, for sure. They get for sure cheap and easy. Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? I think I'm happy with what that is, but I think, every time you have an opportunity to replace something, metal is obviously the one. It would be our preference.
That's why we're doing that as a community, right? So,
Great.
can you? I'm sorry, I'm speaking maybe at a
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Are you guys able to pass bylaws that state anything that's new must go in as steel?
Well, I would assume so, but when it comes to DFO and their water, I don't think we're really telling them what to do.
But we have other harbor. We have other users in the harbor. So to get the pile driver over here, I need a list of other people that need pile driving, including Spring Cove. I've got them online now because Canadian Fish needs to get some work done up there. There's another private operator on the other side of the harbor in Stewart Bay who's putting in pilings.
Probably creosote.
Probably creosote because it's readily available.
So that's a question to you, Mr. Lawrence.
I'll be the first to admit that the water bylaws are not in my bailiwick. What I would suggest that the Harbour Authority do is, if we leave this with staff, what we can do is look into policies or bylaws for council or the Harbour Authority and council's consideration. There may be avenues that we could use long term where the Harbour Authority and council state that if any new pilings or structures that are in the X basin are done with metal or non-toxic wood pilings, if there is such a thing, and that way, or if they do a wood piling, that the herring nets that they put around the posts are a component of it to mitigate any environmental costs. So there's a couple of things that we could consider putting in policy, and if we get that to DFO in advance of the replacement program, then like many of the ministries, they can plan for the replacement of the pilings with our policies or bylaws in consideration ahead of time. So it's more likely that they would listen. That being it's federal, I'm going to make the assumption that if they want to ignore us, they will. But what we can do is put in the policies and the bylaws that we can follow for anything that we do have jurisdictional control over, to say first is metal. If you can't do metal, then you have to mitigate, and you can mitigate in these fashions for like herring and anything else. So that might be something that we could consider. And we could also put in a request for DFO saying, thank you very much for not putting in creosote. That's great. Will the arsenic in these new pilings kill our herring? And if so, can you please put in the herring nets or whatever they're called to help mitigate the loss of aquatic life on these new posts? Maybe something along those lines.
I will move whatever needs to be moved if you want to make it pretty. I'm all about environmental
Resolutions
mitigation
are
on those
phenomenal.
pilings.
I think you can just leave this one with staff. If you can direct staff to look into options for pilings and harbor pilings, and to bring a report back to council for consideration on environmental mitigation policies, something like that maybe.
Done?
Through the chair, I'm just wondering, this can't be super difficult information to suss out. We should be able to get something like Steveston or someplace that's kind of high profile would have something in place. Like, this wouldn't be the first time that something like this is already done. We just need to reach out to the right people who are ahead of us.
I know Squamish was ahead of the curve on the herring mats on their pilings. They were the first ones to actually see that work, even on a creosote one. I don't know about Steveston, but
I remember hearing something about
Well, Ms. Hoare has done a motion on the floor, echoing what you're asking.
He said he did.
But you don't need one? Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Then you're going to get back to us, and I'm happy DFO's done something here, but I don't think it's enough. I think it's but they listened anyways, which is nice.
I'm surprised we got a response that fast, actually, from federal department. I'm impressed. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got your report now. And hey,
Yes.
we were just at correspondence.
Oh, it was never asked for. Report, it's basically updates. So, although since I wrote the report, a few more charter operators have arrived. Commercial business is pretty slow at the moment. So we have some guys doing live cod. Weather's been a deterrent for that. Market prices for bottom fish is pretty low, so most of my draggers are stopped. Commercial halibut, a little bit in the First Nations fishery, but not a lot in the commercial fishery. And on the 5th, it's the start of the prawn season, so we'll start getting a few prawn boats around. So that's the commercial part of it. Yeah.
Hopefully my husband is paid for our mortgage, because I noticed the boat's not in the yard anymore. So before I mention anything about the 52 steps, under issues is long-term planning, and I get that there's going to be some work and some cleanup done down there, but I'm wondering if we have heard anything else from them about how they were just going to take it away and then it went away, and are we still in that sort of purgatory place where we're going to keep it as long as we can and keep our nose down?
At this point, yeah, they've paused the removal aspect of it.
That'll be a good thing.
Question. It's kind of on both this and the resolution tracking. It says you're refurbishing the fish cleaning station and the resolution tracking. I know we haven't got to it. It says the signs will be hung for spring break. Are they up? We're past spring break now.
They're not up yet. No.
Okay.
But we'll get to the resolution tracking in a moment. Moving on to information items, unless there's any other questions regarding that. Harbor manager report. Okay. Did you just finish your report? You did? You did. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking about dinner. We've been totally way off target here today, so it's all good. Off to Harbor Authority resolution tracking. And did you want to speak a bit more on that one about the signage? I know we talked about there was something else down there as well.
I had asked about whether Ucluelet thought language was being used, any of their names were being used on the signs, but I know it is being done with the aquarium, so it's more about the scientific names. I just thought it would be an interesting tie-in.
Yeah, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to. Yeah, the signage one. That always seems to be the. I don't think it's any fault to anybody, but I know because we meet quarterly, and then a couple of weeks before the quarter, the meeting happens, and it's like, oh, we're supposed to get that done. And one of them is the signage down there. It's been on the books for a little bit. I don't think it's anybody's fault. We talked about upgrades to the fish cleaning station down there. We're into the season now, and I'm not aware is that being done.
So through the chair, that Kevin's got a bit of a plan for that. We have met and talked about that, so that will be happening shortly. And agreed, it's a little late, and our apologies.
No, don't have to apologize. I think I just want to make sure that you hear from us is don't put it out just because it's on there and you haven't got it out. Like if you're not going to get it right or you're under pressure for time just because we're in the season, having the signs not there for another 3 to 5 months is not going to change anything in the community, but just to get it right, and including the fish cleaning station as well, right?
So the good news is the signs are actually done.
Oh.
So that is the good news. We back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Well, a couple times. So we do have the 2 signs completed. Kevin, do you have them? I believe. No, then I've got them downstairs. Yeah, so the signs are done, and they do have scientific names. And we focused on 2 areas with that. And so those, as a part of the fish cleaning station upgrade, then we will be installing the 2 signs as well.
Perfect.
So that should be happening within the next 6 weeks. Yes.
What's that work look like for at the fish cleaning station? Are we getting new benches in there, or are we just painting what we got?
If I can work within my budget, I would like to change it into stainless steel, so it's all very minimal, the wood there now that it gets harder and harder.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, similar setup, back to backs, but with stainless steel properly on it. It was never done correctly, so I get the cost of it.
Mm-hmm.
So cut fish. So yeah, I just have to get the welder in there, walk through the time, and then price it out.
So what is your budget?
I believe it was 70,000.
I believe so. Then that's just off the top of my head.
So those budgets for projects like that, are they predetermined through this board? I forget. Or is that just coming through yourself?
That's so.
Through the,
Sorry, that's so we have a certain amount of funds that we have
Mhm.
that the district of Ucluelet has,
right.
and that's a part of the budget process. So that's a part of our 5-year,
Okay.
in which we have a certain amount of money. Then we identify projects within that, and council sees that.
Okay, perfect. Kevin, hopefully that table's very busy this summer. Thank you. Anything else for the resolution tracking for misfortune? No. I think if those signs are ready, I'd love to see a picture and an email to the group here, just what that looks like. I think that would be kind of fun.
Check to see where they're at.
And mayor's announcements, I don't have any today. Harbour Authority committee reports. Question period.
Anyone?
Any hands up, a *9, or any emails to community input?
There is no communication at this time.
Okay, so thank you. So we are adjourned. Thank you.